huge show in front of us today to talk about. With me is my co-host Kinte. Kinte, how are you?
I am wonderful. I am so happy to be here and I'm looking forward to talking.
So, before we get into sort of the specifics of the episode, let me ask you a quick question. In terms of where we are in the Mayan storytelling, what are your opinions right now about where we specifically are? Like, have you noticed that we're sort of in kind of a good place from the serial perspective, like getting a little bit of stuff each episode, just a little bit of a reveal and then some stuff that's happening? Or do you feel like we're not quite moving at the same pace that we were last season?
I think that the pace of this season is it does feel a little different, but I know that we've kind of gone back and forth about how we feel about it, but I feel like this season's been pretty good and definitely I love the pacing of it. I think it's been really good.
It's it's funny because I'm definitely of the mind that last season we had a lot more narrative progression in our storytelling, and this season we seem to be headed toward a little bit more. Let's get to know the Mayans. Let's get to understand more about what makes them tick as a club. Let's really explore what the MC is all about, and we allow for certain characters to shine. It was almost like season one was sort of the foundation material that we needed to kind of tell the operational story for season two. And this episode made me really feel that way because we had a number of sort of confrontations for the group for the MC to deal with. And then we also had sort of the individual dramas. So I'm going to pick it up with obviously Easy, through no fault of his own, poor little innocent Easy. The clerk ended up dying, and that it seems like Easy might have cleaned up the scene just a little bit and made it look even more like it was just a suicide. And so, well, I guess I shouldn't say but there is also this unease between Emily and EZ, because Emily can't get in touch with EZ and EZ's dealing with some other stuff, and that all kind of filters itself out. But it was very interesting to me at the beginning that we start obviously with kind of where we left off at the end of the last episode, because it really does feel to me like EZ dodged the proverbial bullet. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I do kind of feel some kind of way about that because it did kind of it wrapped up a little too easy. You know what I mean? Like the way that it ended was like it was gonna become like this big thing. And then it's like, oh no, it's perfect, not a problem, nothing to see here. And so I didn't love that, but who knows though? Maybe this it may come back to be more than just that. So I think I don't believe that though. I believe that this we've seen pretty much everything that we need to when it comes to this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess there's a possibility that it could there might be more.
Well, to that end, along the same lines, what did you think about the mayor basically telling Emily and telling the Galindos together that this can't happen again? I mean, clearly she was thinking that they had something to do with this.
Right, but but it seemed as if she aimed it directly at her.
You
More
think she
than
aimed
him.
it directly at Emily?
It seemed like it.
Hmm.
Or
Well,
maybe I read that wrong, but
I, I don't know. I have a feeling that nobody really knows exactly how to interpret the Galindos together. Um, like they don't know who the strength or who the foundation of the decision making really is with. And I think that that's part of Emily's. I mean, we've talked a lot about how much we don't dislike Emily as a character, but I think that that has a lot to do with Emily's want to sort of be in the limelight, so to speak. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, she's really trying to assert that she's got some decision making power. And that feels to me like sort of the emphasis that we've been seeing from her. And this was sort of the payoff. But I still think that she is still, at least in terms of where everybody else sees her, except DZ, behind the shadow of Miguel. She's not, I don't feel like that particular situation really, I feel like everybody still thinks Miguel is pulling the strings. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
he isn't really in a lot of instances. No.
yeah, he really isn't, which is kind of interesting. It's actually kind of interesting.
You like that, huh?
I do kind of like that because it shows simultaneously that, look, Miguel is not really in charge of everything, and that some things are still outside of his purview, which makes him feel a lot more like there is the possibility that something can happen which we don't expect. I mean, like, I hate it when characters are sort of quote unquote bulletproof. It really bugs me because there's no way then for us to sort of find ways to make the drama interesting. I mean,
Right.
in some ways, I have that very same problem with Potter because Potter always feels so bulletproof. But I did find the conversation between Angel and his dad very interesting when he says, Potter has his own flaws and we can exploit them along those same lines. I thought that was really interesting because it means that he really has thought about this a bit.
Oh yeah, he's definitely for sure thought about it because he understands that Potter is somebody that needs to be taken down.
Do you think that Felipe really, I mean, do you think Felipe, because I do, I personally think that Felipe recognizes that Potter is actually the bigger threat, even bigger than the Galindos. That, if anybody is going to have, if anybody's going to be a problem, it is going to be Potter, not just because Potter is, US, because the connections to the government, but because I personally think that Felipe recognizes that there is a kind of evil underneath Potter, a joyous reveling in almost sadism, which he sort of manifests whenever he talks about causing harm to other people. And I really think that Felipe has probably worked with enough people over the course of his lifetime to recognize that that is a very dangerous person.
Yeah, he does. He definitely has that understanding of this is somebody that we definitely have to keep our eyes out for.
And it's, what's odd to me is that Angel, it feels to me anyway, like Angel recognizes that maybe on a different level than EZ does. Like, I don't feel like EZ quite understands that at this point. Of course, I could be wrong, but I don't feel like he really does. But that was a really nice little conversation between Felipe and Angel. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, their scenes are really good. I really enjoy it.
They're sort of heart wrenching, and this one was no exception. It was a bit heart wrenching because he takes responsibility for himself not being as warm to Angel as he was to EZ, and he basically says, yeah, look, I didn't do a great job. And I really, I mean, it's strange how much I actually feel for him in that moment, but I really do.
Yeah, it is a tragic story, But you think maybe if he did it another way, maybe his life could have went a different route?
Well,
Possibly.
the the Mayans definitely seems to have a recurring theme, and that is that parents, and especially fathers, I mean, I guess mothers to a small degree. I mean, we saw that with Coco, Coco's mom trying to raise, uh, but it's not that really the same though. What the dad piece in all of this is that dads can dads can really screw up a young child's emergence into the world of being a man. And depending upon how big that was and how much it sort of screwed you up, it really affects every single thing that you do down the line. And we keep getting reminded of that in the Mayans over and over and over again, with Galindo, with Angel and EZ, with I think to some degree even Coco, with everybody who seems to have. I hate to overgeneralize it and call it daddy issues, but I mean everybody has daddy issues in the Mayans, and it's funny because if I were to say that about any other series, I would probably say it very tongue in cheek and be like, oh my God. But in the Mayans, it has this kind of gravitas attached to it that gives us this like very real feeling like, hey, pay attention. These relationships are so important. Look at how important they are. They actually permeate the adult men in this MC, and I feel like that's actually a really good message.
Yeah, it is a recurring theme on this show about fathers and sons, and even daughters and fathers as well. So, and there was that scene at the end when Coco was talking to his daughter, and he says, "I wish I had." She said something to the effect that, "I wish I had that moment where."
She said, "I'll never have that."
And then he was like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have killed your mom."
This is I think Coco at his strongest, right? This whole episode was sort of a Coco subtext. I in some ways I feel like Coco is sort of the champion of the underdog, in the sense that, no, the underdog isn't the right word. There's a pragmatism and spiritual sort of center about Coco that sort of is a no nonsense, permeate everything aspect. And the thing that is the most amazing to me about that whole dialogue was that Coco said to, when he was talking to Letitia, he didn't just say at the end, he said, "I'm proud of you," but he also, I think, made it very clear that where you go from here is up to you, right? What happens to you now, you don't look back in the past. You look forward because this is what you have right now. And honestly, that feels very much like a whole Mayans philosophy. We have what we have because we move forward, right?
Right.
That really seems to be pretty important. I think it was even more important when they were talking about the fact that okay, so who was the group? The other MC were called they were called, shoot.
Good luck.
I completely
Good luck with that.
oh God, this is going to be bad. Okay, well, there's another group. They clearly have been doing the coyote thing across the border, asking people for more and more money. When they aren't able to pay it, they keep them until they can figure out a way to get the money. All of that was morally reprehensible, right?
Right.
But I don't think it would have meant anything to the Mayans, honestly, except that they were in their territory. They were in the Mayans' territory. And that is the no. The hard no is not that you do something that's morally questionable or that is reprehensible even. The no is that you do it and that you don't give another group, you don't give the group that you're encroaching on, that you don't give them the respect.
That it's interesting. I wonder if Coco's daughter made up the part when she said my father is a Mayan, and then my father is a Mayan, and they laughed because he was more upset, seemingly about that than almost anything.
Yes.
And they were too at the table, like, oh, they're gonna laugh at us, like, you know what I mean, like. So I wonder if that was even really said. I guess we'll never know. But she might have, because she knows her father, right?
Mm-hmm. And she knows
So
the Mayans now.
right. So who knows? Maybe she might have said that just just to get him, to get him upset.
Well, here's the thing, right? The idea that I think the idea that you don't respect each other, and we've seen this over the past couple of episodes, right? The idea that you don't respect for any reason is sort of a hard stop when it comes to the group, right? The MC says absolutely not. You can do a lot, but you cannot disrespect us, both within the group, so group member to group member, Mayan to Mayan, and then outside the Mayans, right? You show respect because that's what you're supposed to do. And what I found also interesting about this was that at the table, they said, why is this at the table, right? He was like, why is this even at the table? And
Right.
I'm sorry, there's noise in the background and I am helpless to do anything about it, so I apologize for that. The but what put it at the table basically was the disrespect, was the lack of communication and conversation that needed to happen in order for the other MC to come in and be able to do anything, right, in Mayan territory. And what they say is, we've been dealing with this Galindo thing and it's really clouded our vision as to what we are supposed to be as an MC. And I wonder if that isn't sort of a precursor to some things that might happen in the future. What do you think?
I can see that.
Just getting up,
Oops, sorry about that. I can see that. I can see that as a potential thing because, and I like that too because, we've talked about how we might feel about, the storyline that that they're in, and what does that mean and whatnot. So, um, I can I can definitely I like that they took this moment to go into um, another storyline.
Well, it feels to me like this is another layer of who the Mayans are, right? I mean, all this season we have seen sort of the idea of disrespecting the MC and what that ends up being. It ends up, it ends in death, but it also ends in sort of like when we see Angel disrespect, he gets called out for it, and then there's a lot of other stuff that kind of happens in there. There's a big dynamic that's going on, where he's sort of put in his place, like, look, pup, you can't do that. And it this season feels very much like we are seeing more of the layers for the MC. And I hate to, draw any kind of parallel between this and Sons of Anarchy, but remember back to Sons of Anarchy when a lot of our sort of understanding of who they were as a club was understanding who had what in terms of their responsibility, who respected who everybody was in kind of the pecking order. And in the Mayans, we see a kind of a bit of a return to that, but it feels like it's more about the MC altogether instead of individual characters carving out their own pecking order, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. No, I totally agree with you.
I kind of like it. I feel like this is actually a really good direction for them to go in because it keeps us from being so far involved in any one character storyline that if that character, something happens to them or if something sort of transcends the actual story arc, that we don't end up feeling like there's no place to go because the character was such an essential part of it. At the moment, it feels like the MC, except for Easy and Angel, I think, those characters maintain sort of the core center, but everything else is really about the MC. And that actually, I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where this show is really at the forefront of that kind of thing. I really think that the thing about this program, especially this episode, is this brotherhood that we see over and over, right?
Right?
And comparing, Ron Perlman to Bishop,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, uh, you know, Bishop would totally die for his guys, right? And not saying Ron Perlman's character. Oh, I can't believe I'm having a brain fart. I know one of the fans are going to be like, "What? You can't remember?" I know I'm going to hear it, but
Welcome to getting old, everybody.
right, right. Uh, Bishop. Well, Ron Perlman would make decisions that would be, some of the people in the group, may die or because of his decisions or whatever, 'cause whereas Bishop is like, I will do anything, I will die for these guys, and there's something about that makes this group or these guys that much more admirable, even
Yeah.
though they're doing crime and murdering people and whatnot, you know.
Well, it's Clay, by the way.
Clay, thank
Yeah,
you, thank
it
you.
just came to
I
me.
should edit that out so I won't get killed.
It's the other thing that I think is really like super important about that very same idea is that the MC has a life of its own. And I'm not saying that Sons of Anarchy didn't have a life of its own too, but it was very wound up in the individual character storylines. And at a certain point they started to really take over so that it felt more about the individual characters and less about the MC altogether. And in this spin-off, the Mayans have done a really good job in keeping a central focus on the MC as the most important part of what we need to pay attention to. It's about the brotherhood, it's about the respect, it's about the stuff that happens to them, with them, for them, because of them, not any one individual character. And that it does really feel like a sea change in the writing, and it's really worked. I feel like it's really worked.
Right, right, and you love the guys, and then the even though they did it for somewhat selfish reasons, but also when they were able to save those people who were being treated like dogs
Right.
in cages, and you know it was a great moment.
Yeah, and that again, that is sort of another legacy issue that I think that the Mayans deal with just as effectively as Sons of Anarchy does, where the things that they do that are awesome are absolutely awesome. They stand out as being, this is the way that good human beings behave. And in fact, to some degree, I almost feel like the Mayans has a kind of, I know it's ridiculous because they've done horrible things. I mean, the group, well, individuals have done horrible things, but it feels like they've almost censored themselves in the sense that no individual character has done the kind of really atrocious things that were happening in Sons of Anarchy. And to that end, I will say that what is the effect of that is that the Mayans feel like a more cohesive group. They feel like a more respectable group. It feels like we can forgive them of their sins because, damn, look at this, they do the right thing. And it's interesting. The psychology behind that is so interesting.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's awesome.
So what one thing that I definitely just wanted to talk about was, so there's this whole thing with Easy, and I don't even know how to say it. Every time Easy is in a scene with Emily, it always makes me so uncomfortable.
It's very cringeworthy.
It really is, and I, I can't tell if it's purposeful or if it's just that I don't know if the two of them just like don't have any chemistry together or what. But it comes through. It screen wise, it really comes through, right? It really makes me feel like I want to just turn away because some inevitable bad thing is going to happen, and I can't even get to the point where I could be sympathetic toward Easy for thinking that he's doing a good thing for Emily. And I feel like the clerk actually said it best. He said, "Oh, so you're going to come back and do this thing for your old piece of whatever." And
Yeah.
I felt like that was exactly what he was doing. Like, look, you just completely threw off any
The
veneer
clerk is
of,
funny too, by the way.
right. That was, I mean, it was absolutely that's exactly what was going on. Tell me that wasn't what was going on.
Right. Yeah, he was only mad at the truth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And okay, so toward the end, right? I guess yeah, toward the end, Galindo says to his driver, or to one of the drivers, that he wants to have Emily followed, right? One of his guards, Nestor, it was right. Yeah, Nestor. Okay, sorry, I had to remember that. And Miguel wants to know where she is 24/7. So Emily clearly knows that and circumvents the whole thing by saying that she's going to talk to the at the county building, and does this whole dance to meet EZ. Well,
Which could get him killed.
which exactly. This whole thing is just like, oh my gosh, it's Shakespearean in its tragic formation. Absolutely. What did you think?
Oh man, it was terrible. Like that, it's just another example of why we're not big fans of that. Well, I don't see. I hate to say because I mean she's a great actress.
Oh, she is. She absolutely is. I don't, funny. I don't actually think that we would hate her as much as a character if Sarah wasn't as convincing as Emily as she is.
Right.
Does that sound crazy? I mean, like, I actually give a lot of hats off respect to Sarah for being able to pull off this kind of really creepy kind of. She's in such a weird place. The character is in such a weird place, and putting a foot on both sides in both worlds and then expecting it not to collide is, I think, very disingenuous of her. But I feel like Sarah, as the actress, really pulls it off well.
Yeah, and she sure got over his death once she found out she got what she wanted. It was like she was all sad about the death because so it let you know she was more sad about it may affecting her business negatively. But once when it was revealed that everything was hunky dory, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was totally fine with. She was just like, well, it's the cost of doing business.
And
You know,
it kind of killed me that Easy said, well, I was doing a favor for somebody that I care about, because Emily was like trying to blame herself for Marlon's death and all that. And Easy is like, no, he's dead because I care. I did a favor for somebody that I care about. And I was like, dude, what are you even doing right now? I mean, have you not learned your lesson? Oh man, wow.
no.
Sometimes Easy makes me just want to reach through the TV and give him a quick slap and say, "Wake up!
Wake up, bro.
This is bad."
Yeah, he really loves that girl, man. I mean, he loves her, and he can't even think straight with her.
But we did leave the episode with Easy saying hey, I know how you can return the favor. And it's a family thing. And my guess is that what we have been seeing in previous episodes with Emily discovering the stuff about the Galindos is about to come to bear.
Right.
And what holes that kind of opens up. Oh man, there is definitely going to be some fireworks around that. I can see it. I can totally see it. I wonder what side Emily will ultimately fall on, whether she'll fall on the Felipe, there's nothing here but pain, just leave it alone, or whether she'll fall on the EZ, I gotta know, and you owe me. And I don't
Is she gonna fall on the worst thing you can think of?
it does seem like in terms of Emily's decision making abilities, she continues to sort of draw from the well of what's the worst possible thing that I could do in this moment, and that is what she goes with.
Yeah, I mean, she's consistent.
Definitely. There is definitely that. Before I forget, one of the other things that I really liked about this episode, and it has nothing to do with narrative plot, it's got nothing to do with kind of what's happening in the Mayans altogether. It's their action sequences in this episode were really good when they
Yeah,
go into the half or not the halfway house, sorry, the safe house. Dude, that was just amazingly handled.
yeah. They have a great crew, and they do such a brilliant job with that. And that scene was I agree. That scene was excellent.
There was a lot of high intensity stuff, but then there was also so much tension in sort of not just what was going to happen, but what ultimately kind of ended up happening. That it just felt. I mean, it was emotional. It was high action. It was sad. Oh my gosh, it was.
Yeah, that was a hard one to take a look at. And then the way they were treating them like dogs, it
How
was horrible.
I think we have to give a little bit of intellectual genius there to Easy for thinking about deliveries, and that I was actually kind of. Sometimes I think they assign Easy slightly too much intelligence because I really want. He doesn't seem to put it to bear unless he actually is sort of faced with a problem, but otherwise it seems to sort of be sleeping. Because if he couldn't possibly see what's happening with Emily, I'm a little disappointed in his intellectual prowess there. But we'll cut him some slack.
I think he's pretty smart. That guy, I like his
He
character.
he is. He's definitely really smart. But we see what the filter of the filter of your old flame to is I guess
Okay, he's smart in a lot of ways. Not so smart. Let me take that back. He's not so smart in other ways.
he's just not smart when it comes to Emily. Let's face it. But also, I meant to say this in our last podcast. Also, I have to say, what did Easy even think was going to happen when he showed up at that guy's house? I mean, honestly, did he really think that he was just going to have a heart-to-heart talk with him? I mean, obviously, he couldn't have known it was going to go so sideways. But come on.
It started out really good though. It started, hey man, remember? Oh yeah, you were on the team, and he looked so happy to see him too. That was the funny part of it.
Yeah.
The guy was like so happy to see him, like, oh, my old buddy from, even though he didn't remember him. He was like, who are you again? It's one of those things where somebody knows you and you don't know them.
Yeah, it's funny how you can be famous without even knowing it.
Yeah, I thought that was good, but I kind of am disappointed though that's the one thing I am disappointed is that I would have wished that they would have gave it a little more like made it more of a thing,
Yeah.
because but it ended up being perfect.
It was very neatly wrapped up. But the thing that I think sort of is is maybe the reason for that is because of what we just talked about. The fact that EZ was smart enough to sort of tie up the loose ends that looked like they might be around, and his ability to see into the situation far enough that he covered all those bases are why it didn't end up being more than it possibly could have. So, I mean, in some ways, I feel like it really was kind of a testament to, hey, you see how smart EZ is? He actually wiped the crime scene in such a way that it really, the only thing that you could point to was the guy committed suicide.
And the way, the way that he got shot, you kind of knew that's where it was going, because it did kind of look like he committed suicide.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And EZ composed an email on the guy's laptop to the council to say, I cheated. I mean, that was the point behind us hearing that, oh, well, he had sent us an email and he confessed that, he had cheated with the Chinese and blah, blah, blah. And this is why, he felt so guilty that he shot himself. But we know that EZ must have composed that, because we know that Marlon was ready to basically take the total shot for it and say, no way, I didn't do anything wrong. This is my one chance to get out of everything. So clearly EZ composed that email.
Oh, I mean, that's for sure. And didn't he say that he did?
Did he? If he did, I might have.
I could recall he said that to her, didn't he?
Oh, did he say it to Emily in the end?
I believe so. Of course, somebody's going to be like, no, he didn't. You're making things up.
Because what I heard was, I heard, what's her name? Oh gosh, her name's going to escape me now. But I heard when they went into the county planning office, when she had the meeting with Miguel and Emily, what I heard from her was he had sent us an email. And in that email, he confessed that, basically he had given some information to the Chinese, and, that, and that's what made that the bid disqualified. But at that point, we as the audience don't know sort of what else was happening, but we know that it was EZ. We know that's what EZ did, because there's nothing. What else could you do?
Right.
But I actually just don't remember if EZ actually said when Emily said what happened. I don't actually remember that's what he said, but I could be wrong. I just know that I made that connection in my head and was like, wow, that's pretty. Again, I think it just speaks to how smart EZ is, because he had the forethought to kind of put all that together. So made a difference. I think it did, actually.
He's getting very comfortable around death.
Yeah, well, he's getting very comfortable, I think, being the instigator of death, which is different, I think, than just even being around it, right? I mean, like, he has direct bloody hands right now, which we sort of saw in the beginning of the episode, where he's got like the bloody shirt sort of soaking in the sink. And to me, that really signified that, hey, he's got blood on his hands. Like,
oh yeah, definitely. He got blood on his hands, and he don't seem to have a problem with it.
Yeah.
One last thing. The young lady who they saved the brother and mother for, do you think that that's going to be a thing going forward between EZ? He seemed to like her, and she liked him.
I almost mentioned that, and then I decided not to, because I don't know. They're so weird about showing us EZ's who he might be interested in, and but the one thing that I did like about their interaction was she seemed to have a kind of way, not equal to his, but very steady. And I feel like nobody really acts steady around EZ. Women don't act steady around EZ. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. If there is, my feeling is that's wow. If she's Letitia's friend, she's got to be pretty young.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Easy is older, but she's no Emily.
Letitia looked jealous too.
Yeah, yeah, she did. Oh my God, it almost broke my heart when when Coco said to Letitia, "You don't have friends." That was some kind of statement of being. Wait a minute, I have to suspect everything that you're saying right now because you don't have friends. That was actually really sad. I felt bad.
Hilarious.
So, is there anything that you want to? I feel like we brushed on almost everything that happened this episode.
No, I
Is
think
there
this is
anything that we
great.
missed?
No, I think we got everything, and I'm just looking forward to next week's episode.
I kind of am too. I kind of have a feeling that we missed Potter in this episode. Glad happily, I think, and I'm kind of interested to see what might happen here with the whole what's Potter doing behind the scenes. My guess is it's something pretty substantial. I guess we'll see. We'll
And
see.
Flo Sun's coming back.
That's right. That's right. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So, how can people find you on social media?
They can get me at Kente F on Twitter, Kente Ferguson on Instagram, and of course the website is indieradio.org. How can they get you?
You can find me on Twitter at Following Bliss1, and you can find my websites at moviesmakethemeal.com and criticallaughs.com. And once again, I apologize for the crazy construction stuff sounds going on outside.
They're building a studio at her home.
Yes, they're building me a studio. Yes, that's exactly it. All right. So until next time, we'll see you soon.
All right. Peace.